Hi, Jewish Mom. First of all, I want to start off with an important announcement that this coming Wednesday is going to be my last day for the rest of July of doing JewishMom.com. Maybe occasionally I'll be coming back and forth, but I'm going to be visiting family abroad. So that means that until August, this is our last pep talk. I'm sorry. I'll miss you too. Um, so I want to talk today about two stories. One was a short story that I read in Bean magazine that I really enjoyed. Another was a story that I personally saw in real life. I just want to talk about think about these two stories. One was a story that I read. So I read the story in Bean magazine, and I really loved it. But I had some issues with it. It was a story by Libby Lazunik. It was called Lighter Than Air, and it appeared maybe 2 weeks ago. So this is the story. There's an older single, 25 years old, and she has a younger cousin who lives out of town, who lives outside of New York City. And the older single lives in New York City. So basically the aunt calls the older single's mother and says, the cousin, who I believe is probably, maybe 19 or 20, is about to start dating and asks if she can move in with the family of the older single and move into her room, then move into the room of the older single. To facilitate dating in New York, where there's many more people to date. And so this is very, very challenging for the older single, who realizes, probably what's going to happen is that her charming, lovely young cousin is going to get, married very quickly. It's going to be going on this date, and it's going to be, dating all the time and getting all these suggestions. While she, the older single, basically no one suggested a name to her for a long time, and she just envisioning like what a terrible situation this is going to be, how much pressure this is going to be putting on her, while she's just kind of like, waiting to get married, and it's not clear when or if she's going to get married, and it would just like add a lot of stress. So what happens? So, she talks with her mother about it, and her mother says, well, honey, I know you're going to do the right thing. Okay. And then she goes to her grandmother. And the grandmother also says, honey, I know you're going to do the right thing. And no one can really see her point of view. I could see her point of view. I could imagine if it was me or one of my daughters, I think I'd be very sympathetic to like not having the younger, charming, beautiful, 19-year-old cousin coming to live with her, and, bringing so much pressure and bad feel. I mean, just like basically, I just thought it'd be very difficult and stressful and depressing for her to be living, like to be watching her 19-year-old cousin dating. But no one else, everyone that she went to just says, going to do the right thing. You're going to do the right thing. I know it's hard, but you're going to do the right thing. So the daughter, this older single, decides, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to go. So like she goes out, she buys balloons for her cousin, saying like, welcome cousin, welcome and all sorts of beautiful, colorful balloons, and it's very welcoming to her, and it really works on herself. Okay, so I just reading this and just thinking like just how incredibly hard that would be. How I could really see why she wouldn't have wanted to do that, and how if I was her mother, I don't think I would have put that same amount of pressure that her mother put on her, and her grandmother. So what happens at the end, and there's like a wonderful ending, but it turns out, so then the charming young cousin, so she goes out with a guy. They go out twice, and then after the third date, she comes home and says, well, he's, so the aunt says, well, how was it? And she said it was wonderful, and he's perfect for my cousin. And in the end, of course, how wonderful. She sets up this guy with her cousin. The cousin, the older cousin, ends up getting married to the guy. Okay, I hope I didn't ruin the ending. People are kind of like a few weeks back, a few weeks behind in their Brina magazines. And it was such a satisfying ending. And I thought it was really lovely. Okay. But okay, so I want to go from that to a story that I saw in real life. I know someone who's an older single, and this is someone who, she's one of the people that I know who most works on her midot, who most is always working. She goes to all sorts of classes, all different various like chaboras she participates in, to work on herself and on her own spiritual and personal growth. She really is just a very sincerely growing person. So the other day, I went to a wedding of a young, of a very young woman who's getting married, maybe 20, 21. And I happened to see, I got there early. I got there when they were having like the Kabbalah Panim, when people, when the bride is sitting and people are coming up and talking with the bride. And so I was there very early, and so I saw this older single that I know was there. I saw the older single come up, and she wished her a big mazel tov to the young bride. Um, and um, I guess many people were kind of thinking like, wow, like what that must feel like. It must not be so easy. Um, and and something interesting happened during the chuppah. I got an urgent call. My phone rang from home. I just had to check to see what was going on. What was going on. I left some young children home, and so I left the chuppah. And as I went out of the chuppah, I saw this older single who I'm so fond of and admire so much. I saw her outside, just standing outside, not at the chuppah. And I was just so blown away by that, because she's a person who works so hard on, working on her midot and doing the right thing and being a better person, and that she had clearly decided, I'm going to go to the wedding. I was invited to go to the wedding. I have to show up at the wedding, but I have to keep my own, emotional health. I have to keep that in mind. I have to nurture myself. I have to love myself. I have to set limits so that I can continue functioning as an older single. It was just so striking. If it had been someone who less like works on themselves and less this, but it clearly was someone who has decided, okay, what can I do and what can I not do? What, like as Rabbi Niven always says, what is my next step in Avodat Hashem? What does Hashem want from me now? Does Hashem want me to go to this chuppah and completely come home destroyed? And I also want to point out, like I looked around and actually I saw that actually there were quite a few older singles at this chuppah. There were people who, for whatever reason, they were able to go, and I think probably a lot of it depends on, on personality. And a level of sensitivity, and who knows, maybe she had just broken up with someone, right the day before. I have no idea what the situation was, but she clearly had decided, okay, I'm not going to push myself past that point. I can't, I'm going to go and say mazel tov. I'm not going to be able to go to the chuppah. So I'm just talking about this because I just think it's so important for us, like when we're, in life. So I've referred to this several times before, but that, in life, like there's the comfort zone, and there's the stretch zone, and there's the stress zone, and I think and I heard like that a rabbi once said, that in Judaism we should be in the stretch zone, and I think that, but life itself, like there's so much stress, there's so much, we're constantly, like almost without really trying, we're especially as Jewish mothers, I think we are in the stretch zone. How important it is to find that correct balance. I just want to say, like in conclusion, looking at these two stories, of like the story in Bina with the woman who really, really, really went into the stress zone, and she saw, and a miracle happened to her. And then somebody I saw in real life who, who decided, to stay, to stay. She's in the stretch zone. I mean, just like clearly thinking about just for ourselves, thinking about for ourselves about our limits, and thinking about nurturing ourselves and taking care of ourselves, and and not endangering our emotional health by pushing ourselves too much. Thinking carefully, what is the next step, and what is my next step in serving Hashem? And I don't think it means like looking at this older single I know, and like you need to think about your situation. Like probably like we need to be very careful about falling into the stress zone, which could have really disastrous results for us and for our families. And um, on that note, I want to just bless all of us that this summer, summer vacation for many of us. I think that there's two groups of summer vacation mothers. Or the summer vacation mothers when kids go away to summer camp, and so it's much easier for mothers. And there's another group of mothers. I'm a member of this group whose summer vacation's harder for them because their kids are around more, and it's harder to balance kids who are out of their regular frameworks. And I want to bless us that we should be able to remember to not get too far into the stretch zone, to guard our energy and to guard our mental health and to take care of ourselves, yeah, and to nurture ourselves as much as possible. To be careful, like I think it's okay to sometimes go into the stretch zone, like in the Bina story, but to be careful and to think like what is truly my next step in Avodat Hashem. What does Hashem really want from me now? To best take care of myself and my family. Bless all of you Jewish moms with an amazing week and an amazing month. Until I see you again around the beginning of August. Kol tov.